You might be familiar with the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite, in Greek mythology, but did you know that there was also a male god who was the embodiment of physical as well as eternal beauty? He was one of the 12 Olympians, Apollo, and he was, in fact, so adored by the Greeks that he appeared in a wide variety of myths and stories, taking on new roles and epithets along the way. With time, he developed into a more complex individual, sometimes even acting rashly and immorally. But what are the most impressive tales that find him as the centerpiece? Let's find out. Apollo was an adventurer from the moment of his birth. Zeus and his Titaness mistress, Leto, were his parents. Leto was punished by Zeus's envious wife Hera, who forbade her from giving birth on land and sent a vicious python to drive her away after learning of the pregnancy. On Ortygia, a floating island, Leto sought refuge. Hera then forced Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, to prolong Leto's labor for an agonizing 9 days. Leto eventually gave birth to twins Artemis and her identical twin Apollo. So, with a golden sword in hand, the mighty Greek deity Apollo descended into the earth. The island surrounding him sprung into life, alive with luxuriant vegetation, fragrant flowers, and lovely sounds. In just 4 days after his birth, Apollo set out on a search to exact revenge on the python who had harassed his mother when she was pregnant. The nymphs of Delphi applauded him as he promptly killed the python with his handy bow and arrow. But Gaia, the mother of the python, was extremely angry with what had happened. In fact, she was so upset that she commanded Zeus to send Apollo to Tartarus. But that didn't happen. Instead, the god of beauty was banished from Mount Olympus and forced to work as a slave for 9 long years, due to Zeus's punishment. At the end of a sentence, Apollo patched things up with Gaia, and she gifted him the oracular temple of Delphi. He returned the favor by honoring her with the Pythian Games as a token of gratitude. So, the Greek god was beautiful and knew how to win the ladies' hearts. But interestingly, he never married anyone. He did, however, carry on his father's lusty tendencies, and he had multiple relationships with both men and women. Even without being married, he had a bunch of children. However, as we'll see from the narrative of Apollo and Cassandra, the daughter of King Priam of Troy, not all of Apollo's approaches were favorably welcomed. Cassandra caught Apollo's attention, and he tried to earn her favor by giving her the gift of prophecy. Apollo's lust immediately turned sour when she rejected his advances, and he ensured that no one would ever think her predictions were accurate. Apollo's best-known son is Asclepius, the god of medicine and healing. His birth was the result of Apollo's affair with Princess Coronis. Coronis was guarded by a white crow sent by Apollo when she was bearing his kid. But then Apollo learned through the crow that Coronis had an affair with someone else. This made him so furious that he instructed his sister Artemis to slay Coronis and set the crow ablaze on her funeral fire. Apollo pulled Asclepius, his unborn son, from the flames as they slithered over her lifeless body. In the meantime, the fire had scorched the crow's feather, turning them forever black. This son of Apollo was later killed by Zeus. In a fit of revenge, Apollo killed the Cyclops, who had created Zeus's weapons, which upset Zeus so much that he sent the god to Earth as a mortal to serve the king of Fury in Thessaly. But this was not the only time Apollo was stripped of his title of a god. The second time was when he and Poseidon made the stupid decision to try to overthrow Zeus. Zeus didn't appreciate it and condemned them both to years of hard labor as mortals when they constructed the massive walls of Troy that essentially rendered the city indestructible. But his time as a mortal was temporary, and Apollo was the god of almost everything, such as music, poetry, art, prophecy, truth, archery, plague, healing, sun, and light. One thing to note here is that although he is always associated with the sun, the original sun god was the Titan Helios. But everyone forgot about him. Being a deity, he could never stand to lose a competition. Music is one of his most well-known gifts, and he is said to have participated in numerous musical competitions. Surprisingly, he even cheated in a contest with the satyr Marsyas, and King Midas had his ears turned into donkey ears for not selecting him as the winner. Apollo then, for being his equal in ability, flayed the unlucky soul alive. Apollo was also regarded as the god of cowherds and maintained bright red sacred cows, the finest cattle in the world, although his sacred animals were the wolf, the raven, and the dolphin. Hermes had once taken a few of his cattle. When Apollo realized his cattle were gone, he searched for them and discovered Hermes was the culprit. If you don't already know, Hermes, a fellow Olympian who was also the Greek god of travel, cunning, and theft, was a complex god. He was ordered by Apollo to deliver his animals back. Instead, Hermes started to play his lyre, and Apollo could not resist the melodies. As the Greek god of music, he was mesmerized by the music and asked Hermes for the instrument, and ever since, he was frequently shown holding a lyre or even been given credit for creating it. Now, the story gets a little crazy. Apollo also was a little psychotic because of what he did to his twin sister. Artemis is the Greek goddess of hunting and animals, and she is one of 3 virgin goddesses. You can frequently find her depictions with a bow and arrow. Artemis and fellow hunter Orion grew close and frequently went out hunting together during the day and at night. Because Apollo was concerned that his twin sister had broken her commitment to be pure, he decided to get rid of Orion. Apollo lied to his sister, telling her that there was a bad guy who had just entered their city and raped one of her closest friends, and that he was now swimming out to sea to escape. Furious, Artemis set out to find this bad guy right away. She shot him dead after seeing that he was swimming out to sea, only to discover that she had actually killed Orion. But there's a positive tale to his book too, as he was the only god who helped the Trojans in the Trojan War. While most Greek gods and goddesses helped the Greek warriors, Apollo aided Troy. This is because one of the Greek leaders kidnapped a young Trojan woman and claimed her as his own. The father of the Trojan woman was a priest to Apollo. The god, who was enraged by the Greeks' actions, joined Hector and the Trojans in their battle against the Greek army. And it was Apollo's guide of Paris's arrow that allowed Achilles to be struck in the heel and be killed. And that pretty much sums up some of the most renowned tales about Apollo. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you next time with another amazing story. Until then, stay mythically mad.